Welcome everyone at this webinar powered by IoF2020. My name is Gerben Splinter of Wageningen Economic Research, and I will be your moderator for today. In 2019, we had several webinars which you can find on our website, IoF2020.eu. IoF2020 is a project which is designed to generate maximum impact right from the outset, and in the long run bringing closer together and integrating the supply and demand sides of IoT technologies in the agri-food sector. In this manner, IoF2020 paves the way towards data-driven farming that is capable of providing higher production yields in a more sustainable and environmentally responsible fashion, while also making the European farming sector more competitive in an increasingly globalized world. This is a long-awaited first webinar in a series of more to come for 2020, and it's about best practices and tools to evaluate user acceptance. As you can see on this slide, it is powered by the WP4 team of Wageningen Economic Research, and I would like to introduce, of course, this topic furthermore. IoF2020 and our guest ReachOut will share today their best practices and insights on tools for user acceptance testing in the agri-food and in the IoT context. And thank you for joining us today on this webinar, and we hope we have a fruitful meeting. And of course, I'm not hosting this webinar on my own. We have three perfect experts joining us today who will tell you more about this topic. You can see them all three above. These experts are my colleague Mireille van Hilten of Wageningen Economic Research, also Alexandre Lefebvre, Operation Manager of ReachOut Platform. They of course introduce themselves later on, and also Olivier Buzareo of OW2, and he is a project coordinator, and we will be assisted also by my colleague, that is Marion Bogers. She's doing the techniques for this webinar, and we also have my colleague Daoud Urdu, and he is the organizer of the IoF2020 webinar series. Mireille is the first in line to kick off this webinar later on, talking about what is user acceptance testing and how this is done in the IoF2020 project and best practices for other projects. This will be in the first 10 minutes. And after that, Alexandre will take over and tell you something more about ReachOut. ReachOut is the beta testing campaign platform for research projects, and he will be joined by Olivier. Olivier will answer your questions after the demonstration and can also help you register your campaigns as well as tune your questionnaires. And then we have probably 20 minutes left for Q&A, questions and answers, and it works like this in this webinar. We have some rules, and they were already also posted in the chat box by my colleague Daoud. Make sure you join the audio portion by your headset or phone, and because of the large number of attendees, you are asked to mute your mic during this webinar. Also notice that this webinar will be recorded to share it later on also on the IoF2020 website. So if you don't want yourself on screen, please not only mute your audio, but also mute your video, and only use the chat to communicate with us. And Daoud and I will pick up your questions and divide them later on to the speakers. So use the Q&A part, of course, for the questions at the end. Yeah, and I immediately hand over to Mireille to start her presentation. So Mireille, good luck. Take over, please.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
okay, welcome
perfect.
everybody. Just a very short introduction on myself. I'm a researcher, business informatics and agri-food at Wageningen Economic Research, and I'm working on the IoF project in work package 4 on business support. And I have been working on the user acceptance team for a few months now, and I would like to share some of our best practices. But first, I would like to talk a little bit about what user acceptance testing is. I also have a background in the software industry, and I guess that's where it comes from, right? So today we really want to try to translate user acceptance testing to the IoT in agri-food context. And what it's all about is that the end user is, of course, very much as possible involved in the entire development process. But in the end, the end user should also give us some idea of the status of the product right before it's moved into production. So what does that give us? It gives us information to improve the product and plan future releases. So you can think about questions like, how does the end user experience working with the product? What was the experience during the installation? And what about compatibility between systems? These are just some examples. If we move further into IoF 2020, so what we did to understand what our use cases are doing in the project itself, we created a questionnaire to be able to ask end users what their experiences were like. And of course, we have, by the way, 33 use cases in IoF, and each use case is working on an innovative IoT solution in either the dairy sector or the arable sector. And these questionnaires were offered to them in order to use them. Of course, each use case themselves can also use their own testing methods that they have. The questionnaire that we used, it was taken to the farmers, the end users, who can also be processing companies, by the use case leaders. And they were then asked to either respond to the questions or fill it out themselves. The cases in which a user perhaps couldn't fill it in themselves were the cases in which maybe language was a barrier. So that's when they needed some assistance. And what we try to do is focus mostly on the product or the interface that the user was interacting with. And in the agri-food context, that would mean the application that shows the graphs or the data, which is inputted by data coming from the fields, for example. And the tool that we used mostly is Qualtrics. So today we want to talk about what kind of tools do we use and what kind of tools are interesting for other digital innovation hubs or other organizations wanting to do user acceptance testing. And so the questionnaire that we used had about 145 responses, of which maybe about 80 were actually completely filled out. I should say 71 exactly. We did find that the questionnaire could have maybe been a little bit shorter. It's really a challenge to make sure everybody fills it in. And you could also go to your user and actually bring it on paper if you like. But on the right side, you see just a quick screenshot. It's not that, it's maybe a little small, but just to highlight that once you've done the questionnaire and gathered your data, you can just click through the questions on the left and have very quick reporting results. And you can change all these graphs on the right side. And I'll be showing some examples of some data that we uncovered. What we also did is use the same tool, Qualtrics, which is just a questionnaire tool, but you can do a lot of things with it. We also used it for a shorter questionnaire, and we used that to make sure that the use cases could provide feedback to each other. So we used those during use case meetings. And what we also did is we did additional data analysis using R. So we're working with one of our top data scientists here at Wageningen. She's helping us out with some additional data and analytics. So those are the two tools that we use at the moment. To give you a little more insight into the questionnaire, on a mobile phone, this is what it looks like. Maybe not in these colors, but for example, we asked our users, do you already use the product or solution for your use case? We actually found most respondents actually already use it. And on the right side in blue, you can see that we also asked questions about the usefulness of the solution. For example, are the benefits clear? Does it reduce working time when you use the IoT solution? And on the left side, all the bullets, they're just an overview of the structure of our questionnaire. And of course, we also made sure that we gathered enough data like age and etc. to be able to understand the respondents' background. So usefulness and ease of use are the two factors that probably impact the intention to accept the final solution. We also ask questions about the most and least important features, reasons to use or not to use the product, about cost and feasibility. The product can be very good, but is it expensive? What are reasons not to use it or to use it? And any technical barriers, which were mostly about connection, coverage of the network. Just to show you another example of what kind of data you can get using Qualtrics. For example, we asked our end users, using the solution, can it increase your farm's productivity? And in this case, you can see that strongly agree is over 20% and agree is over 50%. So a large majority of the respondents actually think that it can increase the farm's productivity, which is good news. And two other examples, our farmers say it's important for me to know the experience of fellow farmers about digital solutions. And in this case, we see that 17%, a little more, is neutral, but the majority agrees on that. So they either strongly agree or agree to the fact that it's important that fellow farmers know about the experience. And on the right side, I'm confident about using the digital solution. We also see that a large portion of the farmers are confident about using the digital solutions in IoF 2020. And to go into a little bit more detail, I would like to explain a little bit about use case number 5.4. They're working with a digital application that is connected to air tags to monitor cows. And they have also filled in our questionnaire, but we've also been doing interviews with some of the use cases to get even more information that's more in depth. And this use case is trying to monitor the crop, the animals, of course, but they also have a crop monitoring solution. And they also use automatic weighing scales in this use case. So what the response was of just one respondent, actually. So we asked them, what are the 3 most important features that provides benefit to the farm? And the answer was, it really increases the value of the final product. It increases the acceptance of the product by the end customer and the quality of life of the people who work on the farms. So all of that is real and valuable information for us to know, what the experience is in all of our use cases. And this is still ongoing work. We're still working on this, and we'll be reporting on this in the fall. And my next slide goes into what could these tools and these experiences mean for you. Well, some of our best practices here are that in IoF 2020, we work with very diverse solutions and very diverse trials. And instead of using only a generic project questionnaire, you could also create your own questionnaire, of course, which is also done by some of our use cases. So that could be necessary to uncover even more situational, contextual information on your use case and the end users. It's also good to know that 53% of Qualtrics surveys are actually done on mobile devices. So make sure your survey is mobile ready. And again, if farmers do not feel comfortable talking English, make sure you have either a translator or translate the questionnaire itself, which will give you more challenges to then process the data, but that's a choice. So if you want to reuse our UAT questionnaire, feel free to contact me. My email address is listed here and will be listed again later. And I believe that concludes my part. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mireille, for this presentation.
Sure.
If you have any questions to Mireille, already asked in the chat box, please ask your questions and using the chat box. So I will be now handing over to Alexandre, as already mentioned. Alexandre, the floor is yours. And maybe Marion can make you a presenter, of course, and you can start your presentation.
Good, thanks very much. Thank you for inviting us. Can everybody see the screen? Yes, the slides, I mean. Right,
Yes.
so in this part, good, thanks very much. In this part, I will explain what ReachOut is all about, and then we'll give you a short demonstration of the what we call the beta center, so the ReachOut toolkit. And we hope that we'll be able to identify together synergies and cooperation with IoF2020 and in general future related projects in agri-food and IoT. So ReachOut is a support action funded by the European Commission. So support action, it means we're here to help other research projects. There's 3 partners, Fraunhofer Focus, who's coordinator, and OW2, from which Olivier Bouzreau is, and he will talk later on, and UGSoft, and I'm Alex from UGSoft. So our goal is, as I said, to help European projects in the area of software engineering, but in general, European projects to develop their market value and to reach out to their end users by developing what we called beta testing campaigns, which is a form of user acceptance testing that Mireille has just talked about. So ReachOut is also open to all European SMEs and open source projects, so it's not just for research projects. So quick introduction. In general, when we talk about creating value for the research projects, we think about the deliverables, the product, the results, but there's more than that. There's what we call the delivery challenge. So there's many more other aspects, many more attributes which are listed here. I will not go through them in details, which can create value for the project results. And as we will see in a moment, beta testing helps. So user acceptance testing helps developing these product attributes and increases the market value of the project. So beta testing is a key phase in the project development cycle. So there's the first, usually when the product's being developed, there's the first alpha version, and then there's the beta version, which is ready to be tested by the external users. And this is where the beta testing campaign or the user acceptance testing campaign is coming in. So while ReachOut was originally designed for software projects as a tool, it can also be used for any kind of user acceptance testing. So as we will see in the demonstration, so it could be used as well, of course, in the context of agri-food and IoT. So what's the benefits of beta testing and user acceptance testing? Well, there's many of them. One of them is it can align the partner's expectation in the project. So if you've got several partners, it brings them together, single points of convergence. It also generates the quality, of course, because the feedback of your users will help you increase the quality of your product. And it enforces all of these other product attributes which I was mentioning, such as packaging, documentation, tutorial, installation, support, etc., that you put together with the product that you want your users to test. And finally, also, the feedback that your beta testers can give you can provide you some other future ideas for exploitation in the future. So we like to say that if a project is able to develop and implement their own beta testing campaign, it's a good milestone, and it proves that the project has all what it takes to engage with the external actors, the users, the partners, to bring value to the market and also to develop their own ecosystem. So at ReachOut, I won't go through this in detail, but at ReachOut, we've developed a whole methodology around beta testing, user acceptance testing, with several phases. One about deciding about the objectives of the campaign. So what do you really want people to test? So you should be very clear about that. Also, the next one is to prepare everything, make sure it's all packaged so that the users can test it. Then the next one is about writing all the documentation that goes with it, making sure that it's all ready. Then it's the beta testing phase itself, and in the end, you can analyze the results. So with ReachOut, what we've done is we've prepared it all for you. There's a set of tools and templates for each of those building blocks. I will not go through them in details here. and they're all grouped in what we call the beta center, which I will show you in a few seconds. So the what we call the campaign managers, so the people who are in charge of the campaign, can register on the beta center. So it's open, it's a self-service registration, and then they are provided their own campaign manager page from which they can access the resources that we provide them with. The first one is a form that we provide them with so that they can create a user acceptance testing campaign, a beta testing campaign, which is generated automatically together with a questionnaire. So we'll have a look at the questionnaire in a minute in the demo. Then the next one is a tool which we call the monitoring dashboard. So it's a self evaluation tool that we provide to projects to make sure that they deal with all the management tasks, all the preparation tasks, and all the execution tasks. This dashboard can also be used to be monitored with you by the ReachOut team, because the ReachOut team is here to help you from beginning to end, so we can also do that for you. And so typically regarding campaigns, so it depends, of course, what you have to test. For very simple ones, which is if you just have a simple question to ask to the end user, would you like color red or color green, then you don't need all that time. But if you have a whole product to test, we estimate that the preparation phase could take 1 to 2 months. Execution phase, where the beta testers answer, could take 1 to 2 months. And then you can allow yourself some time also to wrap up the results. So count between 3 and 5 months to run a full campaign, typically. So what happens when what happens to do all this? So you can register, as I said, it's all self-service on reachout-project.eu. So you can register your project, and what we usually do is the ReachOut team, when we see that someone's registered, we contact you, unless you've contacted us before. So we're here also to help. We're a team of people in that project. We're paid by Europe to assist you, so we can also do private webinars like we did for Mireille beforehand. That's how we got on with IoF2020. We can help you set up the campaign. We can help you tune the questionnaires and all that. So that's all part of our job. And one important point is that it's all free, because that's what our role is in this coordination and support action. So I will just go to the demonstration part now. So in this demonstration, I will use the same use case of decision-making optimization in beef supply chain that Mireille mentioned just before. So it's a loose inspiration, and I will show you what it would look like if pretend we were to drive a campaign for this use case. So I will now share my browser. Let's just go here. There we go. Right. So this is the ReachOut website. Maybe I should make it a little bit bigger. Right. So when you're on ReachOut, you've got several roles. So here I'm a project leader because I want to run a campaign. So I just click on project leader and it just says, well, register. So this is what I'm going to do now. So it asking me my name, my first name, my last name, my email here. So reachout.iof2020. So I'll just use a dummy email for the demo. Let's just say I'm from France. Well, let's just say I'm from Reunion Island today. Why not? And my username for this is ReachOut IoF2020, and I will put some password here. So by the way, we've got an informed consent form, so it's all GDPR compliant, and BODHDR. If I'm getting right, so I'm just registering now. So upon registration, what happens is that an account's been created for me. So if I look at the mailbox here, oh, sorry, I put the wrong address, of course. So reachout.iof 2020. I will have an activation link, so I'll just click on that link. So any of you can do that. It's all open, it's all for free, and then I can log in with the credentials that I entered before. And the first thing I will see on the screen is, so we tried to make it as simple as possible. The first thing we see is this little timeline, which tells me that I need to create a project. So I need to, basically what I need to do is to register my project. So what I can put as a name is, for example, the IoF webinar for today, and I create this project. And then in the form, I give the project URL. So let's just say I'm IoF2020. I choose a little logo. So I've got this little logo here that I've chosen. I can give a short description of the project. So here I say it's Internet of Food and Farms. And then I can give the full description, which I prepared beforehand from the IoF 2020 website. And this will create what I call a project. So this is the shell that the user will be able to see once the project's gone live. I've got a little Twitter thing if you're here, if you want to tweet about it. And in each project, you can have several campaigns. So here I will create a campaign for the decision making in the beef supply chain. So I create that one, and I get taken to the form which was mentioned before, which is the campaign creation form. So I can put a start date, an end date, etc., and so on. So I could do it now. Let's just do it for the sake of the demonstration. So I can choose when it starts, when it ends. I can say how long it takes. So maybe it takes 1 day. I describe the campaign objectives. So the campaign objectives, it's typically what I'm trying to do. So here I took some information from the brochure of the use case. It's meant to business users who are in whatever level I would like them to. So it depends on the requirement that you have for the type of users. In terms of requirement for the campaign, I can say please check the requirements on the use case and a little scenario to do. So here also I'm just providing some information about the project itself and some incentives. So it's usually good practice when you have beta testers or user acceptance testing. If it takes time on their hand to do the testing, it's good to give them some reward. So at ReachOut, we have some guidelines and we can go through them with you. So in this campaign here is just test, so we don't have any reward. And then I save the campaign. So when I save the campaign, what it does is it generates this page, which we'll see in a second, and also it generates a questionnaire. So the questionnaire, we've done some research at ReachOut. The questionnaire are generic, so they contain a number of questions, and these questions can be customized. So here at the moment, the campaign's not published, and I can go and customize the question. So what I'm going to do is I've actually already created another one before this webinar. So I will go to this one, which I've done before. Right. Right, let's just go this one before. So I'll just go to the one I prepared and I will show you what the questions look like. So what we did is we made a number of questions. It's about 34 questions at the moment, and they're covering, like Mireille said, covering a number of aspects of the questionnaires. Let me just go from this page, and the questions are a mix of generic questions, of open questions, and of closed questions. So it's good to have a mix of such questions. And you can customize any other questions. You can remove them all. If you prefer, you can keep them all. You can tune them. You can really do what you want. So if you prefer the ReachOut team to help you, that's what we can do. So this is the one I prepared earlier, which is very similar to the one I just did. And if I go to this customize and activate the questionnaire link, I can see there's a number of questions here, and what I did is so they're grouped in sections, and in the user experience, I just copied 2 questions here. So we look at this one, which is relevant to the survey, to the use case, sorry, 5.4. So for example, how is your experience with the sensor data about the cow's location? And the other one that I had entered was this one. If I can preview it, it says, what are the effects on animal handling when using the solution? So any of these questions through this user interface, you can tune and you can change and you can modify if you want to. So if it's just a simple survey with just one question, then you can also just ask one question if you want to. So if I go back to the slides and I hand it over now to Olivier, who will introduce the question and answer session. So Olivier, if you would
Perfect.
like to speak.
Thank you very much, Alexandre, and welcome, Olivier.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Alexandre. So my name is Olivier, and I'm coordinating open source software project at OW2, including ReachOut dissemination and exploitation activities. Alex just mentioned that we are 3 organizations involved in this H2020 support action, 2 from France and 1 in Germany.
Sorry.
And our team is focused on your success. And as you know, your success is relying on user acceptance tests. So before answering your question with Alex and the team, I would like to share with you some collaboration news. Just a few facts, no fake news promise. So during the demo, Alex showcased the beta center and how it can support a typical IoF user acceptance testing. The demo was focused on one of your use case. It's the beef supply chain and how it can optimize your decision-making process. So with a beta testing campaign ready to run, you may think that your use case 5.4 is now down. Well, in fact, this is not exactly the case. We have now a dedicated project description, as you saw. We have a questionnaire which is ready to fine-tune and to collect feedback from early users. However, beta testers deserve a bit more work, including a well-packaged solution with guides and a small application to try the solution. Remember, a campaign is a 3 months to 5 months workflow. So the beta center, as you can use it, it's an open source platform. It's easy, it's operational. So you have to feel really free to try it, to tailor it, and to tweak it to your own needs. And the team at ReachOut is here to help you all along your evaluation period. And we'll do that, as Alex said, for free. So that's good news. Next slide, please, Alex. So we can see already several synergies and collaboration opportunities with the use case in IoF and Agri-food or IoT projects. That's why we are all here, and I think we are 27 at the moment. Today, you can count on our beta testing methodology, but also on the questionnaire that you saw. It's really customizable. We have also tutorials. We have a lot of templates for you. And those elements will help you build and improve your own test. ReachOut also provides FAQ for the campaign managers and FAQ for the beta testers. So the 2 communities will be served. And the whole set of services are operational now. Everything is available for free. So you may ask, where is the trap? There is no paying option. In fact, however, effective interactions start by talking together and by understanding each other. So you will need a smart scenario to tune the questionnaire, probably per use case. Then you will have to listen to your first users. and it's important to take care of them. So the main idea in ReachOut is to extract market value from external users providing their feedback. Next slide, please. Last week, during OW2 online, Alexandre presented ReachOut to more than 70 attendees with direct chat and talk in parallel. And we saw that our collaboration with the Euro project is now ramping up fast, and it worth some efforts. Why? Because we have common objective. First, we want to move use cases from beta version to market-ready solutions. And we are paid by the European Commission to support your digital innovations, from the ideas to the large IoT systems you may have developed. In your domain, you are touching sensitive questions in agri-farm, such as food quality, food self-sufficiency, and the COVID-19 lockdown has demonstrated how vital are these issues. We can work together on digital traceability and more open source technology that meet today's challenges with no vendor locking. That's the important fact in open source. And ReachOut is a market-oriented support action, as I said. This means that we are here to clear the field, to listen to your market, to clear the market also, and to help you reaching out to your first users and first partners. Next slide, please. Well, together we will probably offering early access to your users, and it could be a white paper that you provide. It could be IoT designs, software, use cases, or full systems, such as the supply chain online platform. So this should give a European solution a chance to access the largest market worldwide while answering to global needs and also local expectations. So more than a conclusion, I would like to offer you now the opportunity to ask your questions and to tell us how we can help you launch your next testing campaigns.
Thank you very much, Olivier, and also thank you very much again, Alexandre. Yeah, it's now time. We have some time left for questions and answers, probably about 15 minutes, and the two first questions were already coming in. One was a question from my colleague, from Mireille, and just let me put the slide on the screen again. And the other one was asked by Viorel Marin. I hope I pronounced your name right. And maybe to start first with that question, she asked, what about customization in other languages than English? Just a few of the EU farmers speak English. Alexandre, Olivier, someone of you both can answer that question?
Sure, if you like.
Yeah, go ahead, Alexandre.
Yeah, so for the customization, the questionnaire itself, the software that I showed, which had the questions, that can be customized in a lot of languages. So I believe Dutch or Spanish or whatever would be available. The ReachOut platform itself is only in English. The ReachOut beta center, but as so maybe Olivier, you can complement on that we could help.
Yeah, we would recommend to do the questionnaires in English to address the largest population possible in Europe. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it is probably possible within Lime Survey to have translated questions and also answers prepared.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, hopefully that addresses the question of IRL by giving this answer. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And there was also a second question that was by our colleague Mireille, also both to you. And that is the question, does ReachOut allow for an export of the data for reporting, for example, or to share it with others? Some of you, Alexandre, Olivier, who wants to answer that question?
Yeah, so the software that runs the questionnaire, so it was Qualtrics that Mireille presented before. So here the software is Lime Survey, and Lime Survey allows you to export in either as a CSV, so which you can import in a spreadsheet, so you could have a look at the data in a spreadsheet afterwards. It also allows you to export as a PDF. So there's several ways to export it, several formats, or just as a plain text file. Also, every time a user answers the questionnaire, the campaign manager will receive an email message. So that will help the campaign manager see the progress. But at the end, so I didn't have time to show you an example campaign where you have the results. You can either export them as CSV, PDF, and you also have pie charts that similar to what Qualtrics did show with Mireille. You can have pie charts or graphs that show you the overall statistics of the answers.
Okay, I hope that
Thank
answer
you.
will do for Mireille. Yeah, and Viorel responded to your answer earlier on her question, and in the chat she said, "I meant text analysis of the answers." So maybe you could respond to that.
There is no
Olivier.
text analysis, and we don't share data with any GAFA or any web giant at the moment, and we won't, in fact. So feel free to use these questionnaires and the answers for your own evaluation and to make your software more user friendly.
Yeah, so about the text analysis, as Olivier said, is you will get the list of if it's a question, an open question, like what would you like us to improve, or what did you like the most, then you will get text as a result. So the analysis of the text should be done by you because you're the project, so you know about it, and we ReachOut could help you also because that's our part of our duty to gather all this information. However, in terms of semantics and the content, we're not specialist of your domain. So here we're talking about agri-food and IoT. So the best way would be that you have someone in your project who helps you analyze this text result. I don't know, Mireille, maybe you want to comment about how do you analyze the text results?
Okay.
Well, I guess if you want to include farmers in their own language, their data will be in their own language. So how do you then analyze the data? We didn't use a translated questionnaire. We only used the English one. And I'm not sure how to proceed. I think what we did do is in language, with language issues, we asked our use case leader to provide the translation right on the spot as we let the end users enter their data. So of course that does maybe there is some value lost in the information during the translation, but I believe it's worth the effort of analyzing the data or having to translate the data itself. That's how we did it. That's what I would advise. And maybe Viorel, if you want to continue to talk about it, you're free to contact me or Alexandre.
Okay, perfect. I see a thank you coming in, and thank you also, Mireille, for this additional information. We don't have any more questions at this moment, so hopefully someone will come up with, because we have some time left. In the meanwhile, Daoud presented the results of the Fox vote, and as we all can see, lots of us are drinking 1 till 5 cups of coffee a day, almost 80% of us. So that's nice to know, Daoud. Thank you very much. But also nice to know is that lots of us joining us today are representing a research job. 53% of us joining is working on research, and as you all can see, almost 12% is active in a digital innovation hub, and almost 18% is working for a company. And so there are just some statistics of people joining us today. So yeah, please post your additional questions to Alexandre, Olivier, and Mireille if you have some more. If not, we will be wrapping it up. Maybe Daoud can come up with with some questions. You as a organizer of these webinars, Daoud, you are also very much involved in all these topics. So maybe you have a question.
Yeah, actually, I have one, Gerben. I would like to ask all the three presenters, and obviously thank you for the nice presentations. The question is more related to the soft side, I would say, for regarding user acceptance. So what I see is that from technical background, we try to engage end users with different tools, but it's more often approached through a technical perspective. But I would like to ask in which process or phase of the project it's good to involve end users, and how do you see end users? Are those technical users or business users, as I also saw in the demo, or in our case, mostly also farmers, from which actually 0% is involved in this webinar already. How do you see that?
Shall I take the question, Daoud?
Please.
Yeah,
Please,
and maybe
Mireille.
Alexandre or Olivier has also ideas, but please, Mireille.
Yeah, I'll start. Obviously, users should get involved as early in the process as possible. What we want to ask users is whether or not they accept and are willing to pay for the solution at the end once it's moved into production, which is what we're calling user acceptance today. But the whole user experience is important during the entire project. Involving them is therefore very important. In the case of farmers, they are often very, very busy with their day-to-day jobs. We have been speaking to some farmers and other roles involved in the use cases the last few weeks, and they were very gracious to give us some time to talk to us in more detail. And a lot of them are tech savvy, and they're really eager to work on these technical solutions. If we want to know more about why they would or wouldn't accept the solution, we have to test against their business requirements, their farming business requirements. So is it useful and is it easy to use? Those are my 2 cents on the topic. Alexandre, maybe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as Gerben said, there's several phases where you can involve the user. Of course, there's the end product phase, like the one we've seen, where you have the product ready and you can present them either the idea of the product or the product itself. They can play with it and give you feedback. But even beforehand, when you're designing the product, sometimes you have design questions. I mean, you're wondering whether your end user will prefer this type of solution or that type of solution, and sometimes it's good to do a little user acceptance testing, presenting them several designs and choice and say, would you prefer this one or that one, or have input about if you would like us to help you track your cows, which way would you like to do it, this way or that way, and then you can get some feedback in advance. But really, at any step of the design, it's good. And it's interesting as well if you've had users providing you early answers to early questions, that you get back to them once you have a solution and they can see whether or not you've taken their input into account. But really, any phase is good.
Thank you very much, Alexandre. Yes, if there are no questions anymore, I think I'm going to wrap it up now. And also like to thank all of you for joining us today, and of course a special thanks to Mireille, Alexandre, and Olivier for sharing your insights on this topic, and thanks to Daoud and Marion for helping out. And we'll be having, as you can see, more webinars in this year on the IoF2020 platform, and also the webinars we had in the past can be found on IoF2020 website. So please look out for the next ones, and thank you very much for joining us today and discussing this interesting topic. Thank you from us all, and have a good day. And if you want to contact more about this specific topic and try to reach out and search for more information, please do so and contact Mireille on that, and also Alexandre and Olivier are available for more information, of course. Thank you all, and have a good day.